Hi, my name is Tricia Roberts and I'm with the Overland Park Fire Department. And today we're going to be getting to know EDITH. And I know some of you may know what I'm talking about when I say EDITH, but some of you may not. You may start thinking maybe I'm talking about a person or a Dalmatian, but really EDITH stands for something. It stands for Exit Drills in the Home. That's just a fancy way of saying a fire drill. And I know most of you have done fire drills at school before, where you've heard your smoke alarm go off at school and you line up with your teacher and you go to your outside meeting place until your teacher says it's okay, and then you go back into your classroom. But you know, it's more important that we do fire drills at home than it is at school, because every night we do something at home that we typically don't do at school, and that's go to sleep. So I want to make sure that you know exactly what to do if you're home sleeping and you hear your smoke alarm go off. It's also important for you to be able to recognize the sound of a smoke alarm, and I'm betting that most of you probably know what your smoke alarm sounds like at home. It's going to sound different than your smoke alarm at school. I happen to have a smoke alarm here with me today. And remember, smoke alarms are just giant noses. When they smell smoke, they make a loud beeping noise. I'm going to hit a button on here so you can hear what your home smoke alarm sounds like, for those of you that have never heard it go off before. So here we go. Okay, so that's the sound of our smoke alarm. It is important that we know what to do when we hear that noise go off. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you have smoke alarms in your house. You should have a smoke alarm on every level of your home, so that means down in your basement, somewhere on the main floor, and then of course upstairs where the bedrooms are. We like to have a smoke alarm in every bedroom and then outside of the bedrooms and the hallway as well. It's also important that you sleep with your bedroom door closed. By closing your door, you're going to keep yourself just a little bit safer. You can actually keep a lot of the smoke out of your room when you're sleeping by having your door closed. When you are sleeping and you hear that smoke alarm go off, the very first thing you're going to do is get down on the ground. Even if you're on a bunk bed, you're just going to get down on the ground as safely as you can, and you're going to crawl like a dog or cat, or like your little brother or sister may crawl. You're going to crawl over to your door. It's important before you open that door, you need to feel the door with the back of your hand. The back of your hand. By feeling your door, you're going to be able to tell if that door is hot or if it's not hot. If your door is not hot, do you think it's okay to go ahead and open the door? Sure it is. Go ahead and open the door. Take a peek out there and see if you see any smoke. If it looks safe, you're going to keep right on going, crawling all the way till you get outside. Now, if you open that door and you don't see any smoke, you don't have to continue crawling. You can stand up and walk. You just want to get out of the house as safely and quickly as you can and go to your outside meeting place. I've got someone here that's ready to demonstrate that for us, and we'll go ahead and take a look as she hears her smoke alarm goes off. She crawls under the smoke, feels the door with the back of her hand, and then opens the door and goes right on out to her outside meeting place. So I'd like to try that again. And this time we're going to talk about what to do if you crawl to your door and you feel the door at the back of your hand and it's hot. So the first thing you need to do when you hear that smoke alarm go off is get down low, crawl just like we did last time. We're touching the door with the back of our hand. And if it's hot, should we open it? No, we don't want to open that door. Instead, you're going to look for another way out. Another way out could be another door if it goes to a bedroom next to yours or a bathroom with another bedroom next to it. But most likely it's going to be a window. Windows are considered a second way out for a fire. Now, I don't want anybody to go home and practice climbing out their window because windows are very dangerous. The only time we really want to climb out the window as if it's an actual fire and we can't get out through our door. We always want to take that door first. We do need to talk about windows because it's important that you know how to open your window. Some windows will raise up and down this way. Some of them slide open to the side. Some of them will have a crank that you turn and the window opens out and closes. Your classroom probably has a completely different window. A lot of classrooms will have windows with the hinges on the top, and the window either pushes out to open or it pulls into the classroom to open. So it's important that you know how your window opens. Most windows are going to have a screen on it, and you'll be able to recognize the screen. It'll look like teeny tiny metal squares, a whole bunch of them. Screens are important. They're going to keep birds out of our house. We don't want animals just flying into our house. But screens can be pretty easy to get out if there's a fire and you have to get out. You can just give that screen a good hit and it should pop right out of there. But talk to your mom and dad and find out the easiest way to open your window, and they can help you come up with a plan. It's also important to make sure you can get to your window. If your bedroom is arranged in a way where you have a dresser with the TV on top of it right in front of your window, that's not a very good plan. We want to fix all those things before we ever have a fire. Windows, you can also make them a little bit safer by having an escape ladder. An escape ladder is a wonderful tool. They generally hook over the windowsill with 2 hooks, and then a ladder, it's usually a metal ladder, will fall down and lay up against the house. I don't encourage you practicing climbing out on your escape ladder. I would recommend that you learn how to hook it up if you have one. Keep it under your bed or in your closet, someplace close by, and you can know how to hook it up, but don't climb out on them. Those ladders, what we've discovered, you can put your weight on the ladders to go down, and those 2 hooks might pop right into your sheetrock. So for a fire drill, you can end up with 2 holes in your wall, and that's not a good plan either. In a fire, we don't care so much if we put a hole in our walls, right? We have to remember that the fire is damaging our home, the smoke is damaging our home, and then even the firefighters, when they get there, they're going to be damaging the home too by putting a large amount of water in the house. They'll also break some windows and put holes in the ceiling and holes in the walls. So I don't want you to worry that you might get in trouble if you break the screen to get out of your bedroom. That's not something that we have to worry about. We always have to remember there's only one you, and it's important that you get yourself out. So I have a friend here. She's going to go ahead and demonstrate crawling under the smoke, feeling the door with the back of her hand, and then going out through her window to the meeting place. I'd like to try that again, and this time we're going to pretend like that window is too high in the air and they can't get out through that window. Again, that's when an escape ladder that we just talked about comes in very handy, because that makes it a little bit safer climbing out of that window. But today we're going to pretend like maybe that window is too high in the air and there is no escape ladder to help us. This time we're going to hear the smoke alarm, crawl under the smoke, go to the door, just like before. Always feel the door with the back of our hand, because we want to try and walk out of the house if we can, right? The door is going to be hot, and we know that window is too high off the ground. So one thing that you can do to keep yourself safer in your room, go get your blanket, clothing, a towel, whatever you might have around you. Take it over to the door and push that blanket underneath the door from one end of the door all the way over to the other end. You want to keep that blocked as much as possible so that no smoke can get in. It's a lot like when mom and dad might put something down under the door like that to keep the cold air out of your house during the winter. We're going to do the same thing, only we're going to keep the smoke out. Once you do that, you can go over to your window, open your window, and this time we want to get people's attention. You can yell your very loudest out the window. Yell something like, "Fire, fire, help, help."
Fire, help, fire. Someone help! Fire!
We want to yell more than just help. Yell fire with it, because sometimes that gets people's attention a little bit faster than just yelling, hey. So go ahead and yell fire, fire. If you have something in your room, you can throw it out the window to get our attention. You can throw, your pillow or your shoes or your books or toys or something out the window. Don't throw a big old TV out your window and bonk one of our firefighters on top of the head. We don't want you to do that. Really, just throw little things out the window to get our attention. When the fire truck gets there, the very first thing that firefighter is going to do when they get off the truck is they're going to walk all the way around the house. And they're going to be looking for signs of fire, and they're also going to be looking for you. They'll be looking at every window. If they go in the backyard and they see shoes and books and toys laying there on the ground, well, then they know to look up, because someone's at that window and they're trying to get my attention, right? To help get them down. If a firefighter sees that, if they hear you yelling, the very first thing they're going to do is get a ladder and help you right out of that window as safely as possible. Another thing that you can do, if you have a cell phone or some sort of phone in your room, it's okay to call 911. In fact, that's the only time we want you to call 911 from inside of a burning building. We want you to get out first and then call 911. But if you're too high and you're stuck in a room that you can't get out of, go ahead and call. When you do call 911, here's what happens with that. A dispatcher is going to answer the phone and she'll say, 911, what is your emergency? And then you have to tell them what's going on. My house is on fire. They'll ask you all kinds of questions. Here in Overland Park, they'll transfer you to another operator, but don't hang up the phone. They know that you need help and they're there to help you, so just wait. The operator will get on the phone and she'll ask you, what is your address? And it's important that you know your address to tell the dispatcher. Your address has two parts, two big parts that we're going to want to know. We're going to want to know the numbers on your house or your apartment. We're also going to want to know the name of your street. And sometimes the name of your street can be numbers too, so it can be a lot of numbers to remember. Just do the best you can. They'll also want to know your phone number. That way, if something happens and you hang up the phone, they can call you back. But really, I don't want you to hang up the phone. Stay on the phone with your dispatcher. She'll have other questions for you too. Did you see fire? Did you see smoke? Who's home with you? Where are you in the house? There'll be lots of questions. So just do the best that you can to answer their questions. And again, stay on the phone until that dispatcher tells you it's okay to hang up. Remember, if you have one address with mom and one address with dad, it can be a lot of numbers to remember. So that's an important thing to know, whether you need a fire truck, an ambulance, or a police officer. 911 is the number you call for all three of those things. And don't ever practice calling it. I don't want you to do that. And I certainly don't want you to make tricks and prank calls to 911. That's not a good thing to do either. But 911 is the number that you call if you need help. If something's happening in your home and you don't know if you need a police officer, a fire truck, or an ambulance, it's always okay to call 911. If the dispatcher answers and says, 911, what is your emergency? You can always ask them. You can say, I don't know what my emergency is, but here's what's happening in my house. And you can tell them, and they can help you decide if you need a fire truck, ambulance, or a police officer. Okay, hopefully that you can, now that you know what EDITH stands for, exit drills in the home. Again, remember that's just a fancy way of saying fire drill. You can talk to mom and dad and find out what you can do to make sure that you will know exactly what to do if you hear your smoke alarm go off. All right, thank you very much. If you have any questions about fire drills in your home or about smoke alarms, feel free to call the fire department. You can call me at 913-895-8403, or you can email me at tricia.rob ERTS@opkansas.org. Thank you and be safe.